We're just a few days away from summer, and while most of the northern hemisphere has been warm for a while, it actually hasn't been too warm here. Today it's about 24 degrees Celsius, and that's one of the hotter days. And I've been doing a little bit of work to get the container ready for summer. The first thing is this greenhouse vent I installed. It was a little bit scary to cut into the container. I did this myself with a cheapo Amazon reciprocating saw. But it makes a big difference. I can actually feel the air blowing out from here. I did just leave the protective things on the fan flaps since one day it'll probably rust out anyways. Might as well leave them for now. Besides the temperature, this has a really big effect on the humidity in the container, which was becoming more and more of an issue. So my other modification, which I guess barely counts as a modification, is I installed this magnetic screen door. It only cost like 35 bucks on Amazon, and it keeps most of the bugs out. Out here there's tons of bugs, and I don't have it quite on perfect at the bottom, but because there's no blue light, it seems to work out well. And like I said, it hasn't really been that hot yet, but in the future, I can definitely leave this door open and just have the screen. Out here in Northern Ontario, we don't really see much above 35 Celsius. Even above 30, it's rare for several days in a row, and it does tend to get cold at night. But worst case scenario, I would just open the back doors, which are currently full of buckets and boxes of salt and 2x4s. I am working on a few other things, which are not quite done. This is one of my old grow-out tanks from the house. But not too much has changed in here, other than a bunch of fish have been sold. A bunch of the small guys are getting big. The big ones can move down to the other tank. These birds here are really getting big. Most of the real big ones are gone, although I have a bunch of thunders left for whatever reason. These guys are empty. And I have a whole bunch new smaller ones. These ones are probably big enough to go in the tank. They're a little bit hard to see. So I put the smaller ones in here, and then I just use this little mesh cover to block the overflow. A couple of them do still make it into the sump, and unless I can net them, they're basically goners. It's just too difficult to get them out. But here's the other side of the greenhouse vent. Yeah, I did a kind of a sloppy job, but I can always clean this up later. It's just spray foam around it. So in the winter, I'll probably just put a foam box over this. I could even foam the outside. I don't think it'll make that big of a difference. But besides temperature, it's really helping with humidity. The controller is here. It's just a manual one, but you can adjust the fan speed. Like I said, it does still get cold here at night. So the heaters are still running at night most of the time, and even as recently as last week, they would come on in the morning still. So you can see this says 80 Fahrenheit. I just set them at Fahrenheit because that's what I use for water. And I think they're set to come on at 74 or 75. So at night I'll either turn the fan down or even unplug it. But hotter nights are definitely coming soon. So humidity was actually getting to be a real problem, but now I don't really have an issue with the fan. It's really doing well. I just have this one little household dehumidifier here, and now the reading will be high because the door is open. But typically the humidity in here is actually better than my house, so I'm quite happy with how that's going. Because I don't spend that much time in here unless I'm working, and yeah, it can be uncomfortably hot and humid. I don't foresee the water getting too hot. It pretty much stays rock solid at 78.5. Before I had the fan installed, I think it reached 79.5. And realistically, the fish would be fine even at 85 or slightly higher. So the water volume now is probably in the, 500 to 600 gallon range. I have 5 60-gallon breeders, a 40 breeder. This low boy doesn't have anything in it, but it's running. The tubs, the sump, and then I have more tanks that I will set up soon. I'll just get this stuff taken care of now because I do still have lots of fish in the house, just small ones. But the ones in the tubs will move to these tanks when I sell the last few bigger ones, and then the ones in the house will go to the tubs and so forth. I'll do another video on more fish later, but I just wanted to show what I've done to get ready for summer. So far it's working out well, and I guess we'll just see how hot it really does get. Thanks for watching. Happy breeding.